Hello everyone. Welcome to pCloudy's webinar on bringing Selenium and Appium together. My name is Dinakar. I'll be the host for today. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few housekeeping rules. Your line is currently muted. However, you can submit your questions during the webinar through the chat option at the bottom of the screen. We will answer all of your questions at the end of the webinar. This webinar is being recorded and we will send out the link to share with your colleagues as well. Without further ado, let me introduce the speaker for today, Shoaib Ahmed. He is a lead pre-sales consultant at pCloudy. He has around 9 years of experience in the IT industry. Prior to his role at pCloudy, he worked with Micro Focus as a pre-sales consultant for application delivery management portfolio, catering to technologies such as DevOps, automation, performance, cloud, and mobility. Over to the speaker, Shoaib Ahmed.
Thank you so much, Dinakar, and thanks everyone for joining in this webinar. So today we'll be discussing on the Selenium and Appium together in this webinar. So we will also look into how our product can help you leverage, use the Selenium and the Appium scripts for that matter when it's combined. So let's look at the agenda for today's webinar. We'll start up with a quick overview and what is Selenium and Appium, and then followed by we will also look into some of the problematic areas and pain points that these solutions has when it comes to both Selenium as well as on the Appium side. And how can pCloudy offer you? What help can pCloudy offer you to counter these pain points and the problem areas that we see on these automation tools? And we'll also look into the device cloud as well as the browser cloud uses, and followed by a demonstration on both the platforms. So that's the agenda, and then we'll followed by a quick Q&A, and then we'll wrap up the session. So that's the quick agenda here. So let me just get started. So what is Selenium? So just to understand, Selenium is an open sourced automation framework tool, which is basically mainly used by the developers and the automation testers to test their web applications on different web browsers and also on the operating systems, right? So Selenium basically supports the wide variety of programming language like Java, PHP, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, C#, and so on. Hence, the testers and the developers, they have an option to write the test scripts in in the number of programming languages. On the other hand, when we talk about Appium is also an automation test tool framework, wherein you can simplify and accelerate to automate the mobile applications like the native applications, hybrid applications, the progressive web applications, and mobile web apps. So it's predominantly on the mobile application side, so where you have support for all the different applications when it comes to both iOS and Android. So that's about a quick overview on the Selenium and the Appium. And coming to the when it comes to how these framework works, so just to give a glimpse, how on a high level how Selenium and Appium works. So let's look into that. So nowadays, if you are using the Selenium grid, you see the Selenium working with different browsers, right? On the other side, the Appium works with different either emulators, or even if you have an internal device lab where you have connected the real devices. And on the Selenium side, basically the Selenium interacts with the different web drivers, as you can see in the middle of the browser drivers and the corresponding browsers, which are mainly used to mimic or automate the gestures or movements on the users maintained in the web applications. And similarly on the Appium side, so Appium does the same thing here, but this Appium client interacts majorly with the Appium server, right? The APM server, and then the APM server further interacts with the respective drivers based on the request, either if it is request for iOS or if it's request for Android driver. So based on that, so the driver communicates further to the emulators and the real device labs. So that's about quick how the Selenium and APM works. So let's move on. And when we discuss about these products, there are definitely some pain points when we use these solutions. So let's try and understand what these pain points are. Okay. So when we talk about the pain points on the Selenium side, there are few which we can probably discuss. So when we talk about the different browser level, right, and the different browser providers. So there are some limitations when we talk about the browsers. We just have the Chrome driver, the Internet Explorer, and the Firefox, right? So when we talk about the availability of different sets of browsers in order to test your web applications, so there is a limitations where you will be able to test only on these different browsers. And when it comes to updating the browser versions, so very few often, so we see the browsers, the browser versions getting released very soon often. Then it becomes quite challenging for a Selenium user to update their web drivers and also the Selenium scripts in order to work on based on the need. So that is also one of the pain points. And the other big point is there is no built-in network recording. So wherein you have to depend on use of the any third-party tools for network reporting for that matter. And when it comes to sharing the test results, so there is no easy way where you can quickly share your test analytics or results after you run your automation run on the Selenium. So either if it's there passed or failed, so there is no easier way. So it's always a challenging task how to share the results when it comes to the automation scripts. And there is also an overhead cost associated. So this is definitely a challenge wherein there needs to be someone internally who is internally experienced individual who manages the Selenium grid. Especially if you would like to expand the browser support, then it becomes really a challenge to maintain the grid. So these are some of the pain points when we discuss on the Selenium front. And on the APM front, if we discuss on the pain points, so there are few which we can list down here. So due to the various layers in the networks, always there are chances of the flaky test. So no one likes the flaky test, right? So there are chances of the test being running abruptly, and even there is an interruption while you're running your test. And also it depends on the network speed, so your tests are bit slower when you are executing it. And there's also a lack of parallel test run, where you have to depend only on your physical device which is connected to your machine. So in order to achieve you to run on number of parallel no number of devices and execute the same flow of test script, so there is always a challenge where you think how to run these on the different devices at the same time and achieve parallel execution. So there is definitely a lag there. And also there is a huge difference when you test it on the real devices versus the emulators. So whatever you test it on the real devices is pretty much real. The applications you always tend to test your application on the real devices rather than on the emulator. So there are some differences which can be easily identifiable. So there is always a challenge when you test your application on the emulators, the results may not be accurate, and so on. So there are multiple challenges which you can see. And also when we talk about there's a constant update on the devices when it comes to the different manufacturers and the versions, and even on the OS level. So every time there is a new product launched in the market, it becomes a challenging task to test your application on those different devices. So managing the infrastructure itself becomes a total it's altogether a different task, right? So there has to be a specialized team who manages everything on the infrastructure side. So every time when there is a new version releasing, either on the OS side or even on the browser side, definitely, you have to keep on, working on the infrastructure side so that you keep updated on your devices and you test your application on this. So there is a challenge in maintaining the updates on the devices level. And with that, there is, of course, an overhead cost on the maintenance of the devices. Of course, the devices have to be procured, and the maintenance of the devices would definitely be an overhead cost associated with it. So these are some of the pain points which on in high and then on actual higher level, if we can discuss. So these are some. There are many more if we drill down, still more. But however, let's try and understand what are the problem, how can we address this problem statement, and how our tool can help you on this case. So when we talk about pCloudy, so what pCloudy can help. So let's look into that. So pCloudy, basically it's a mobile test automation. It's a continuous testing mobile platform where it provides the infrastructure, infrastructure devices where you can test your mobile applications, be it Android or iOS, on the different application sets like native applications, mobile web applications, progressive web apps, hybrid, and whatnot. So all these different applications, you can pretty much test on our platform. And and we're not just it's the device cloud, but we have also launched our new browser cloud, wherein you can test your desktop browsers. So if you have your web applications that are currently being tested using Selenium, then you can certainly leverage your existing scripts which are prepared in the Selenium and use our browser cloud feature where you can test your web applications on the fly. And there are some of course different features and advantages added to these platforms. So we will discuss that in detail. And with this platform, you can also achieve the quality of your mobile apps, by using rapid automation and also on the automation at scale. And you can also integrate the pCloudy platform with mobile DevOps in case if you are using the DevOps tool. So you can pretty much integrate pCloudy with various different CI servers, and can execute the flow. So let's try and understand what is the device cloud when it comes to the mobile test automation side. So what it can offer. So with the device cloud, the user can pretty much perform the manual test and as well as on the automations on the automation side. So we will look at some of the advantages on the device cloud. So there are various different advantages. So there is unlimited access. You can perform both manual and as well as an automation testing. So we have moved to a new licensing model, so which will let you test. So there is no restriction as such. So you can test unlimited on both manual as well as on the automation testing side. So we have over 2000 real devices on our cloud platform, where you can pretty much test your application. So the devices which are hosted in our data center are pretty much real devices. These are not emulators or simulators. And with the different devices, we have different manufacturer model with different options with OS manufacturer versions. All the different devices section you can pretty much offer. And you also have access to the detailed reports. So once you have performed your test either on the manual test or automation test, so we are providing a detailed report which has performance metrics details like the CPU memory, and the battery chat, and the logs and the screenshots and the videos. So the entire session is being captured in the form of video, so that the videos and the logs will be available in the report section. So you have a detailed report section which you can use it for further analysis purpose, be it either for manual testing or for automation testing. And we also have some features like simulation, network simulation, so where you can pretty much simulate the network. So what we have done is we have throttled the Wi-Fi with different network bandwidths, right? Like the upload and the download speed like 2G, 3G, 4G, and so on. So you can pretty much test your application on different networking parameters, which will help you understand how your app performs on different networking conditions. So it's very important to test your applications on the various different networking conditions even before you release your application to the productions. So with this feature will help you to simulate the network by using the network simulation feature. And some other features like windlet feature, which is very important, wherein you can test your internal applications. So the applications which are accessed only in the restricted environment, which are not accessed outside the environment, maybe kind of a staging server environment. So in that case, if you still would like to test your application on our platform on any Android or iOS devices, you can pretty much use this Mildnet feature, which will help you access your internal applications on our devices, and you can pretty much test your staging server applications. And some other features like localization testing, where you can pretty much test your applications on the different regions. We have support different languages, so you pretty much test. You can pretty much test your applications on the different languages if provided your application is supporting. And not just that, you can also perform the accessibility testing. It's not just important you to test the functional behavior of the application, but it's also important that you test certain features which helps the users across people who are with disabilities. So you can test all the different features around the accessibility testing by using this feature. And integration, so when it talk about integration, so our pCloudy platform can pretty much integrate with Appium, in case if you are using Appium. And if you have created your scripts on Appium, you can pretty much integrate it with our platform. And it's pretty straightforward. It's just a 6 line of code that is required in order to integrate with the platform. So we have an option where you can generate the code to integrate with the pCloudy option. Once this is integrated, you can pretty much run it on multiple devices, and hence you can achieve the parallel execution. So that's about some of the advantages that we have listed when it comes to the device cloud. Now we were discussing on the browser cloud as well. So browser cloud is something which is new, which we have recently launched, where you can test your desktop web applications, right? Desktop web applications on various browser and OS combinations. So it's pretty easy to access the platform and acquire a machine and just test, either it be a manual testing or automation testing. And we also have integrated this with Selenium. So in case if you have your Selenium scripts already created, and you just have to integrate this. So once you have integrated, you're pretty much done. You can execute your Selenium scripts on our platform. So let's look at some of the advantages the browser cloud has to offer. So to begin with, and again, so we have unlimited access when it comes to the manual and automation testing. So there is no restrictions on that, depending on the licenses policy that you will go. And we have the real Mac machines and Windows machines on our cloud platform. So you can pretty much test your web applications on these different operating systems, and also with the different browser combinations. And we can also perform the natural interactions on these the different operating systems and browser level. We also get the web application performance statistics, right? So in case if you want to monitor the application, the web application performance, then certainly you can use the different tools that are available, and like various tools that are available, so you can monitor your web application performance statics as well. And just like similar to the device cloud, we are also offering a detailed reports where you can monitor the logs and screenshots and the videos. So which will help you analyze the screenshots that you have captured during the course of testing, right? In case if you have, and also the videos. So the entire session is being captured in the form of video, and if you'd like to see what manual testing or automation activity has been done during the course of testing, so you can certainly download the video, and you can pretty much look into the video, and even if it's required, you can share it among your team members. So you have an access, pretty much access to the detailed reports as well. And WildNet again, just this is again similar to what we discussed on the device cloud. So if you have your web applications, which is which is in the staging server, and which is accessed only in the restricted environment, then you can test such applications on this platform. So with the WildNet feature, you can pretty much use this WildNet feature and test your application on our platform. And similarly, we can also perform the localization testing, the different testing methods that we have. So you can test your applications with by using the different languages for the different regions that are developed. And accessibility testing, of course. And there's a very flawless, easy integration with the Selenium. It's just that the capabilities we need to bring in into your existing Selenium code. And once we have done with that, you can pretty much integrate this with Selenium, and you can run the web applications on any of the application on the multiple machines at the same time, and hence you can achieve the parallel execution. So let's see it in live. How you can integrate the Appium and the Selenium with pCloudy platform, and execute as the sample code that I have created. So let me just move to the cloud platform. I'm just going into the platform here. Okay, so this is the pCloudy platform. The screen which you're currently seeing is the public platform. I'm just logging in with my user credentials. Let me just do that. I'm just logging in. Okay, so this is the quick landing page where you land upon the dashboard, where you have the total sessions that are run till date, some and also on the current concurrent sessions, if there is any concurrent sessions that are running live, so you can monitor all the details here. And we also have some other options, like if there are new devices that are added to the cloud, you can pretty much navigate this page and get to understand about the devices that we have added. And there's also a video, get started video. If you are new to pCloudy, then you can certainly use this video to to see how to create your first test. Again, you pretty much use this options and some other stats which talks about your previous manual sessions, your automation reports, and updates. So we keep enhancing our product with new features. So any feature related enhancements will be notified in the release notes. So you can pretty much look for all the release notes. So that's the quick overview on the dashboard session. So just would like to show on the how the devices page would look like. This is the important tab where you can see all the different devices. So as you can see, these are the different devices that are hosted in our data center, pretty much on the different mix of Android and as well as on the iOS. So you can pretty much look for a device and you can acquire and you can start your manual testing. So for this session, I'll be focusing more on the automation, since we are bringing the Selenium and Appium together. So let's see it in live how Appium and Selenium can be integrated with pCloudy platform. Okay, so let's move to the automation piece. So there are various different tools, of course, that are supported. We'll be focusing on the Appium side. How this can be integrated. So the typical architecture of Appium would something look like this, where you have an Appium client where you'll be creating your scripts and the test data in it, and also have an Appium server which in turn is connected to the devices, right, physical devices. Now when this gets integrated with pCloudy platform, we no more require the Appium server. We just require the Appium client where you have created your existing scripts and the test data in it. So once this gets integrated with pCloudy platform, we can pretty much run the same script on multiple devices, and hence thereby achieving the parallel execution. So let me just showcase a sample script that I have created. I am using Appium client as an Eclipse here. Eclipse is my client here where I have created scripts, and since Appium supports all the different frameworks, right, all the different automation frameworks, you can pretty much use the framework of your comfort, based on your comfort and the skill and the resources that you have. I have created the script with the testng framework, right, as you can see, and we have various different options here. Uh, and yeah, which you can pretty much use it, right? So this is based on, this is a capability based. So when I talk about integration, right, it's just that 6 line of code that I need to add in my existing script. Once I have the 6 line of code in my existing script, I am pretty much done with the integration. And in the first step, it's the first method where it's called as a before method, where we are initializing the driver depending on whether if it's Android or iOS. And this is the endpoint, right? Endpoint where the Appium server is hosted on your data center. So so this is the URL. And I've written a sample test case which has in detail. So let's try and see. Let's try and execute this script, and I'll showcase how this can be executed. Okay, so when I talk about integration, so let me just showcase how to develop this the code. You can just pretty much go back to the pCloudy platform, click on the devices tab, and in the capabilities section, where you can pretty much create the configurator. So depending on the operating system, either if it's Android or iOS, you can pretty much select and what's the type of automation, if it's browser testing or app testing. And whilenet, in case if you want to use it for automation, where you want to test your staging server applications, you can pretty much use it either true or false. And by default, the location is selected as India. In case if you wish to change, you can pretty much do that. And there are now 3 different options: device full name, device manufacturer, and the device version. So how you want to run it on which particular device. If you're going with device full name, you can just pretty much click on it, and you will see the different devices here, right, with their statuses on the right hand side. So you can pretty much select the devices of your choice, and whichever is available. And as you would have noticed, the device manufacturer and the version just got disabled because we are going with a complete device name, which has a manufacturer, model, and also the version. And it's the other way around. And if you're going with the device manufacturer and the version, then the device will name will get disabled. And the next step is to provide the duration. So for how long your script will execute, right, on the particular device. So you can provide the duration in minutes here. Select the application which you want to test. So the prerequisite for this is to upload your application in the cloud, in the my app data. So there is a tab called my app data where you will be uploading your applications. And then provide the app package and app activity, so which you will be getting it from the developers. And once you click on generate capabilities, the capabilities would be generated, as you can see here, which you can pretty much copy or edit, right? So I can pretty much take this code to my existing Appium script which I have developed, and I'm done with the integration. So this is pretty easy when it comes to integration. So you just have to create the capability configurator depending on the requirement, and then paste it. Now I can execute this script. All right. Okay. So now in order to execute this script, I have to write a sample script. Which I have pretty much written it here, and let me. So there are 3 different options here when I talk about how to execute this. There is a device manufacturer, device version, and device full name. If I am executing this with device full name capability, then this particular script will be executed on this particular device, right? But however, if I want to execute with the device manufacturer and the device version, then I can pretty much use these 2 capabilities, right? So for instance, if I am using the device manufacturer as LG, and which has a device version of 8, so in this case the script will get executed on any LG device which has a version of 8, irrespective of which model it is, right? However, the actual intent of integrating Appium with pCloudy is to achieve the parallel execution, right? How do I run the same script on multiple devices? To do that, what I have done is I have created a parameter here called device name. And since this is created in test ng, I'm passing this as an annotation. And I also have a test ng xml file where I will be passing the values. All right. So say for instance, if I want to execute this on 2 different devices, I just have to provide the values here. Either I can provide the complete device full name or just provide the manufacturer name here. So I'm running this on 2 different devices, one on Samsung and one on the other place. So now if I execute this particular script, the script will get executed on these different platforms. So let's see it how the script will get executed. Okay. This is pretty much there. Let me just run this. Okay, the moment I click on run, so you will get a console where you will be notifying with if the driver is getting initialized, if there are any issues, or so you can pretty much monitor. With pCloudy, what we have done is we have gone a step ahead. And if you just go back to the pCloudy platform, and in the report section, in the my active session, you should be seeing the devices coming up here. As you can see, two different devices. We selected one from OnePlus, another from Samsung. I can see two different devices coming up here, and I can also see it in live what exactly is happening during the live session. To do that, I just have to click on open live view session, which will help me understand how the execute automation script is being executed on these particular devices. Of course, optional. This is optional. The live view is pretty much optional, but this will at least help you understand how the script is being getting executed on these two different platforms. So once the device is connected, you can see the devices connected, and you'll pretty much see the no, it's been executed. So as you can see, the automation has been began here, and it is being executed on these devices. It just got finished in these devices, and it is just getting it over. So it's just it's just a small script, and it took no time, and it just got executed successfully. And now the testing, the execution is pretty much done. Now if I want to, while execution, if I want to interact with the device, if I click on any part of the screen, I will not be able to, because this is the live video streaming that we have. But however, for the debugging purpose, if you have any unwanted pop-ups and if you'd like to interact with the device, then we have a feature, we have made that option for Android at this point, where you can enable the interaction on the top right. So if we can click on enable interaction, so now this device is pretty much enabled, so I can pretty much interact with the device now. If there are any unwanted pop-ups, I can pretty much use this. So once the script is executed, you can pretty much see the reports. All right, so the device will get auto released, and you can navigate to the all report section, and you can see the reports. Right, so you will have in detailed report. So let me just showcase one sample report here, which I've just done that. So let me click on view report. So this will have a detailed in a detailed view of the report, so where you have a quick overview on the test and the session details, started completion, and the total duration. You can also click on further on the device to view the performance related metrics in the report section. So this is the add-on report what we are providing. So of course, whatever the customized reports that you may have written within your own automation framework, that however is available in your client, we are not showcasing that in our report section. This is just an add-on report with no additional work. We are just providing, just you can expand the report. You can pretty much see the chat here. So we are providing a CPU chat, which has at the application level, the system level, and the user level, and the memory chat pretty much about the memory consumption, battery chat, the network chat, and also we are providing the raw data in case if you'd like to create your own graphs, then you can certainly use this raw data that we are providing. And we're also providing the logs. So we have device logs, APM logs, and APM standard error logs, so which you may use it for further debugging purpose. And we're also providing the video. So as I was just discussing during the presentation, so the entire session has been recorded in the form of video, and this video you can pretty much download, and you can see what happened during your automation execution. So this is the default report which we are showcasing, and the entire report is again shareable, which you can pretty much share it among your team members. I just have to click on this copy report link, and a link would be created. So they need not be a pCloud user. Anyone who has this links will be able to access the report, just like how we saw it right now. So that's about how you leverage your existing APM scripts on a pCloud platform. Now let's quickly look into the browser cloud option which we discussed. So pCloudy recently launched a new feature called the browser cloud, which basically helps you to test your desktop web applications on various different browser combinations and OS combinations. So as you can see, I just navigated to the browsers tab, so where I have different sets of devices here, different machines here basically, with the different operating system and the different browser level. I also have a filter option here on the right. So based on the different options, so you can pretty much choose the type of browser that you want. So we have different sets of browser like Firefox, Edge, Chrome, and IE in case of uh, Windows machine, and also we have a Safari browser in case we want to test on it on a Mac machine. And on at the OS level, so we have Windows and Mac machine. Pretty much you can pretty much connect to these devices, and you can test your web applications. And on the OS version side, so we have currently all the different versions like Windows 10 and Windows 8.1. And on the on the Mac side, we have Catalina and Mojave. And we're also adding some more operating system or different versions to our cloud. Okay, so now I can pretty much connect to any of these machines, and then I can acquire it. So it's pretty straightforward. You can pretty much connect. So there are two different options here: available and in use legend. So basically, what does this mean? So if you see any device which is in available state, so that means that this particular machine is available, and I can pretty much connect it. If you see any device in use, so that means that particular machine is in be used by some other user. So you have to make sure that the device is available, since this is a cloud platform. So we do have an option in case if you're worried about the device availability side. So we have a private cloud for that matter, where the devices will be hosted exclusively, exclusively for a client. So where you don't have the public presence. Okay, so that's about. So let me just connect to any of these devices. So let me connect to this particular machine. I'm just connecting to Windows machine here, okay, which has a Chrome version of 17. And as you can see, the browser just got launched. I can also go into the full screen mode to test my web applications. So it's pretty much there. I have the OS 10, and with the specific version whichever I'm looking at. Now I can launch my application here. I just provide the value. Just say, for instance, I'm launching pros.com. I can pretty much do that. Let's do that. Yeah, the application would get launched, and I can pretty much test my web application by using this for the mainly for the manual testing side. And you also have various screen resolutions in case if you would like to test your web applications on various levels. So you have an option. You can pretty much choose the screen resolutions of your choice, and test your application on different level. And while you're testing, if you have found any defects, so if you would like to take a screenshot, just click on capture screenshot here. The screenshot would be captured, and which you can pretty much use it for further raising the defects, or for the further analysis purpose. And wildnet feature, this is again in case if you have your applications which is accessed only in the restricted environment like staging server, so you can pretty much test it by using this option. So there is a small command that needs to be run on your local machine, and you have to download an executable before that. So just download an executable on your local machine and execute a command. So if you just click on here, so this will help you understand how to use this wildnet feature, and with that you can test your any applications which are accessed only in the restricted environment. So that's about the manual testing. So once you are done with your testing, you can pretty much click on release button. So in order to release, once you have done with that, I'll just click on release, and you'll be notified with a pop-up which says whatever the data on this browser will be cleaned up. Right, so this is mainly from the security point. So whatever activity that you have done will be cleaned up on this particular machine. I just click on yes, and the device will get auto released, and the device and the machine will go in auto cleanup option. So that's about on the manual testing side, how you can do your mobile web on the desktop web application testing. Now, just to showcase on the Selenium side how we can integrate this with a Selenium platform. So we have also showcased in the our documentation the step-by-step configuration, how to generate how from the integration perspective. Just like I'll take you through the automation front when it comes to the documentation side. So this is the documentation page where you can pretty much follow how you can integrate the Selenium platform. And we've also listed down some steps for manual testing and automation testing, which you can pretty much follow here. I'll just directly go into the automation side since I've shown the manual testing. So for automation side, since this is based on the capability side, so we have provided some capabilities that needs to be incorporated into your existing Selenium script. and provide change the values as per your requirement. And yeah, and once you have provided these desired capabilities, you can pretty much integrate. So you can also access to the cloud URL and the API access in the settings tab by navigating into the pCloudy page. So once you have done with that, you can pretty much access the application. So let me just showcase a sample script again, which I have created for the Selenium. Okay, let me just open the Selenium script. Okay, so this is my Selenium script which I have created, and this is the script, how it looks like. So this is based on the capabilities, as I just mentioned, which I showcased during in my the documentation page. You can pretty much copy the capabilities, and this is the driver initialization which we are doing, and this is the endpoint URL where the Selenium is hosted. And I've written a sample script here, a small script, so which will navigate here. This is the URL which I am testing it, and this will launch, and I can pretty much test it at the various different options, so which I will be showcasing. Okay, I also have a test ng XML here, uh, which I can use for providing the values. All right, so if I want to run the same script on multiple machines at the same time, maybe on different operating systems, on different browser with different versions, I can do that. I just have to change the values in the test ng XML. So I am say for instance, if I want to run it on two different machines, all right, one on Windows and another on the Mac, which I can pretty much do that. I am running this on a Windows machine here currently, so I am providing the values as Windows, the OS version, on which particular OS version, followed by the browser name and its version, right? So the first test will, the test, one of the test will run in on this particular machine, and on the other device, all right, on the other machine, I'm just selecting as an Windows again. I'm providing the values here, so which can with the browser name and the browser version. So two different operating systems with different browser names and values. I can pretty much execute this. Let me just execute and showcase how the execution will happen in real time. I'll just click on runners and click on test ng. So once, sorry for that. Okay. So there is a console coming up where you can see if the driver is getting initialized or not, and even if there are any errors or warning messages, which you can pretty much monitor. Just like on the mobile devices, where you have the UI to see what exactly is happening during the live session. As you can see, the driver has just launched. Let me just go to the devices section, and I'll go to the all reports tab, and in the my active session you'll start seeing the machines which I've connected. So there are two different machines, one on Windows 10 and the other on Windows 8.1, two different browser with different versions. I can also see a live view here. Just click on live view session option here. I'll just make it for other machine as well. This is connecting to the device. As you can see, it's successfully connected on both the devices. Now the script will get executed on on these platform. Let me just go to the console here, and you can see it's pretty much there. Okay, so it's pretty much done. The execution has just got finished while we were discussing on the console part. As you can see, the script pretty much done. The driver got initialized, and few activities just got performed on both the devices, and which you probably would have seen here it on live, right? So once the execution is completed on both this both this machine, the machines will get auto released, and you'll also get a report for this sessions, right? So to navigate, so once the session is completed, the execution is completed, you can pretty much go to the all report section, and you can also see the reports, the live reports in live. So you can pretty much access. Currently this is disabled for now. So once we have that option, you can pretty much go into the view report section and view the screenshots or the videos and the logs, whatever we have just provided for the device section. So you can pretty much see it in live. So that's about on the how you leverage your existing Appium scripts and Selenium scripts with pCloudy platform, and integrate and execute on multiple devices, and hence achieve parallel execution. So with that, you save your test execution time tremendously, and there is many added advantage to it. Don't have to worry about the infrastructure, right, for maintaining and managing all these devices. So the entire devices and the machines, we are pretty much managing. So it's ready to use. So the moment you have the software, you can pretty much test your web applications, or even mobile native and hybrid applications as well. So that's about on the few different parameters. So I'll open up the session for a Q&A session, and let me just see if we have any questions. I'll just pause here for a few seconds, and let's see if I have some questions which I can take in. Okay, so there are some interesting questions coming up. You can start typing your questions in case if you have not. So we have some more time. I can pretty much take down all your questions here. Okay, so let me just start the uh, question answers. I can see some questions. There is a user by name Anil. Okay, Anil is asking how easy it is to integrate the Selenium part of it when you're talking about on the uh, integration side. So, Anil, I'm not sure if you noticed during the live demonstration. So, since this is based on the desired capabilities, so we have provided some desired capabilities in the our on our platform, where you can quickly get those desired capabilities, and you can pretty much integrate that. So, it's just that one URL that needs to be changed. So, where the Selenium server is hosted. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Once you follow the documentation, you'll have a brief understanding about it, which I just showcased during the demonstration. And you can pretty much use it and test your application once this is integrated, and you can test it on multiple devices at the same time. And hence, you save a lot of amount of time when it comes to the test execution side. Okay, I hope I have answered to your question, Anil. And there are some other questions coming up. User Ritika says, what is the maximum limit of the on the parallel devices which I can use on the devices section? Okay, so theoretically, Ritika, if I can just answer your question, so theoretically there is no limit as such. You can pretty much test on more devices. So we have successfully tested, around 50 devices in parallel. Provided if you have valid licenses, you can pretty much test on various different browser on different mobile devices. So you can pretty much do it. I hope I have answered your question, Ritika. Okay, so there are some other questions coming up. So there is a user called Kamlesh Yadav says, do you have an inbuilt APM server? Yes, so as I was just mentioning, you don't require the APM server. Okay, you just need to have the APM client where you have created the APM, yes, the scripts and the test data. So we have hosted the APM server on our cloud. So it's pretty much there. So you don't have to worry about the APM server configuration. It's just that you need to have your existing APM client scripts which you have created. And once you have your scripts, you can pretty much integrate by using the capability configurator, and where you provide the URL where the APM server is hosted, and you're done with the integration, and you can test your web applications. I mean, can test your applications there. I hope I have answered your query. Okay, there is another user is asking from Dhanashekar Jaipal is asking, what about OpKey? It helps as a record and replay. So OpKey is basically, it's another altogether a different solution, which is our internal solution, of course, which is an record and replay where you can, it's a zero code automation. So there is a record and replay option. While you record, the entire action gets recorded in the simple, plain English readable language at the back end, and you can pretty much test your application which you have recorded on any devices. So that's pretty much there. But of course, this is a licensed version, and it's our internal solution. I may share a link on about OpKey in case if you're interested. You can pretty much look into it. Okay, I hope I have answered to your question. Okay, so then another user asking. Uh, Okay, there are some other questions which are repeated. Okay, let me just take the questions which are new and which are relevant. How to test e-commerce website in APM? Okay, if you are talking about mobile web applications, mobile web application which is an e-commerce, you can pretty much do it. So we have an option. You not just test the native or hybrid, but you can also test your mobile web application on the APM side. Be it any application, be it e-commerce website or any applications. So it does not matter. So you can pretty much test it. However, if it's a web applications, if it's just a desktop web application, then we have a browser cloud option where you can pretty much test your application on the browser cloud. I hope I have answered to your question, Nursing Anvita. Okay, there is another question called another question. Is it possible to integrate APM with App Accelerator Studio? Mm, I don't think so. This can be integrated. Maybe I just need to understand a bit more about what Accelerator Studio is. I may get back to you one on one and help you understand on this question. Okay. I hope I have answered your question. And next question. Okay, there is other question from Nursing Anvita again. How much time it provides in APM inspection using pCloudy device? I'm not sure exactly what is your question here. Okay. Uh, Fine. Hugh, I believe there are more questions coming up. I think we are also running short of time. But however, I may answer to your queries which I have not answered now, one on one. I may reply to you one on one, and I'll help you with the queries which you have asked. Okay, just one last question which I can take from Kamlesh Yadav. If I exclude testing, can I execute parallel execution? See, parallel execution is pretty much possible on both the either on the APM or even on the Selenium side. So this is pretty much possible. So you can test your mobile applications on parallel, just like I showcased during the live demo, where you can execute the code on multiple devices. So which is pretty much achievable. Parallel execution is just not something which cannot do, which is pretty much doable, which we can integrate it. Okay, hope we have many more questions coming up. It was very interesting, to see these questions coming up. I may not have answered all your queries. I will come back to your queries one on one. I will answer to you separately. Okay, but I hope this session was quite useful and quite helpful for everyone, for everybody. We do frequently on our webinars. Please visit our LinkedIn page and to just to understand, you can also visit pcloudy.com to to further to understand more on our product. what we offer and what are the different features, and we will be happy to assist you. So I hope this session was useful, and I very much thank everyone who has participated actively in this session for your time, and I hope this was very helpful. So we'll also be sharing you a recorded link, which you can share it among your colleagues who did not attend or who missed the webinar by any point. So thank you so much for your time. I'm closing the session. Thanks everyone. Have a good evening.